The Spurs added Kelly Olynyk, and Dylan Harper was making his debut this weekend.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Happy Friday. Welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We're doing the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs beat writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back, and hope you're all going to have a great end of the work week, Friday. Get the weekend right around the corner, so enjoy, be safe, be careful. You guys are the everydayers. Keep coming here every single day to Locked On Spurs for all things silver and black. And what else? You know about this: Spotify, Ken's 5 Plus app, YouTube. The list goes on and on. Subscribe ASAP. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Yeah, do that right now. So what are we talking about today? Well, we haven't had a chance to really dive deep into it, but y'all know by now the Spurs have added via trade Kelly Olynyk to the roster. Big man, veteran big man. We're going to talk about that, his impact, why this was perhaps a very key pickup / addition to the Spurs roster next season. And then, hey, the rookie's going to make his debut tomorrow out in Vegas. Go figure, right? His debut against the Mavericks, Cooper Flag, number 1 pick. You see where they're going with this NBA. So we're going to be talking about that. What should we expect? And if time permitting, we'll get into some Locked On Spurs fan comments. But yeah, Kelly Olynyk is now a Spur. Let's see. I think that's a pretty good addition. I think my guest is going to agree with me. Let's go and bring him on. He is Mr. Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. Follow him on X at Dominguez5. The Spurs needed to add some size. I was upset, Raul. They didn't add you, though. I was upset. They didn't add
I
you.
can only go a minute at a time, so they need someone with a little more conditioning. So,
again, he is the AP Sports writer based out in San Antonio. And again, follow him on X at Dominguez5. Raul, thank you for coming on Locked On Spurs. By the way, I always tell the Friday guests, that's the primo spot because it's the last episode of the week. It stays on the main page, front and center, over the weekend, and on Ken's 5, where it's also shown, it's the first thing people will see. So you got the prime seat today.
yeah, hopefully it doesn't result in recent foolishness. Yeah.
By the way, you're only following Ariel Wengroff from Ledger yesterday.
Sweet lady, I really like her. I mean, she's I'm sure she's gonna be around a lot of the Spurs games and such, and looking forward to her. She really seems like she's really falling in love with the Spurs, and I know she's done a lot of research on the Spurs, and she knows you as well, so that's a big plus.
Yeah. She surprised you with that little comment before we recorded. She was like, "Hey, Jeff, when I was getting ready for the partnership and crossing the T's and dotting the I's, all that stuff," she goes, "I heard about you." I was like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, I heard about you. I didn't really knew who you were." I was like, "All right, no pressure," as we about to hit record to start. So what a way to start when I started interviewing her. But by the way, everybody, again, we'll talk to Raul in a bit, but we missed out. Yesterday's show is with Ledger CMO, Chief Marketing Officer Ariel Wengroff. It's a really good episode. She kind of let a few things out of the bag. The first thing she let out, Raul, was that any San Antonio artists, like the murals that they paint in San Antonio, she goes, if they do anything regarding the Spurs and the Ledger partnership, that if they let Ledger HQ know that what they'll do, and of course, some steps they got to make, but if it's good, they will actually ask them to send them a print. And in the French headquarters, they have a wall of Spurs Ledger pictures and whatnot. They will add it to the wall. So she said that.
Wow.
And then
we'll need to tell Nick Soup that. And
I'm gonna let him know. Yes,
yeah.
And then the other thing is that she kind of let it out of the bag a little bit. Ledger's gonna go beyond just a patch. There's gonna be like in-game stuff. So the closest that we got to it was, how like in baseball, every time somebody throws a strike, there's a K. The fans put the K. They might be doing something that with Wemby's blocks. So
nice.
Yeah.
They better get ready to do quite a few of whatever they're going to do, because he's definitely going to. I mean, he led the league in blocks, and he missed he played all but 30 games of the season.
Yeah,
he missed the last 30 games of the season. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it's just. By the way, he should have won Rookie of the Year his rookie. I mean, sorry, Defensive Player of the Year his rookie year. He really should have. But nevertheless, we'll keep with the topic of big men. If y'all missed it, and I'm pretty sure y'all did not, the Spurs made a deal with the Wizards, sending out Malachi Branham and Blake Wesley. In return, the main piece was Kelly Olynyk, the big man, veteran big man from Washington. And right off the bat, Raul, let me tell you, I thought, all right, this was like close to a fair deal, for everybody involved. From Malachi and Wesley, they're likely going to get the playing time they deserve in Washington. So, and then the Spurs kind of remove the pressure of so many guards on the roster. And then in return, the Spurs got exactly what they needed, more help with the big man depth. But not just that, a guy that can hit the three shots. All in all, I thought this deal was perfect for the Spurs. I mean, sure, there's that three-point shooting they got to address still, but as far as addressing the need for size, man, check mark off that to-do list, put a gold star on it, A+. Spurs did a good job. Your thoughts about Kelly coming to San Antonio?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those kind of big men that they used to get, during their the phenomenal run of 22 straight playoff appearances. They always have that kind of guy, kind of a Kelly or even a Luke Cornett, who they signed recently, just sort of that big man that does all the little stuff, sets the screens, is very much a team player, good passer, sort of that Fab, Umberto, Thiago Splitter, that type of guy who's not going to wow you with, his dominance and in the paint, but just a guy that's just steady and, that does all the little things that make a team great.
Absolutely. Again, he is 6'11", listed at 240. So he's a big boy. That's exactly the type of size the Spurs needed, and they got it. And what you like about it, too, not only is he a veteran, 12 years in the NBA, his career shooting from the three line, because the Spurs definitely need big men that can space the floor, 37% last year, connected on nearly 42% of his threes. So that is a big check mark for me. And I mean, this is just a solid addition to the Spurs lineup here. I look at this situation here, and it's beyond just the 3-point shooting. Last year, 20 game. Well, he split last year between the Raptors and the Pelicans, and he finished out. I got the stats here for everybody. 20 games with the Pelicans, 10.7 points per game, and nearly 6 rebounds per game. And this is what I like about it: 3.6, give him 4 assists per game. This tells me he has kind of an all-around game role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what Spurs need. That's what I was talking about. Just sort of that type of guy that the kind of the old school guys that they used to have. A guy that is going to mesh well. A guy that's going to be willing to pass the ball and is going to be looking for guys that are going to be cutting or guys maybe they're down low. Maybe they double team a guy that can pass to a guy cutting to the rim or pass it out to someone on the 3-point line. Kelly's just he's just sort of one of those old school centers, and I think it's something that the Spurs haven't had. It's been a while, since they've had something like that. Maybe since the days of maybe Fab, maybe they've had some. Obviously Wemby's a great center, but just sort of that guy that can kind of play down low and do some of the dirty work. Which is what this team needs.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, those 3.6 assists came in 20 games played with the Pelicans last year for Kelly. But however you slice it, Raul, this is just a good addition to the San Antonio Spurs. And we can't ignore this, a veteran. He's a 12-year veteran of this league. He's been there, he's done that. He's been in the playoff situations before, so he's fully aware what it takes to win. And I think the Spurs need that in the roster because it feels like the way they're trending right now, this team is shaping up to be a play-in or a playoff team next season. Ro, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we had talked about this in a previous where I think they have a great chance of being a 4 or a 5 seed. I mean, people talk about what the they've added this offseason. Dylan and Dylan Harper, Carter Bryant, Luke, and now Kelly. But to me, the thing you also have to factor in is the fact that they're getting De'Aaron Fox back. They're getting Wemby back. They lost Wemby, from just prior to the All-Star game for the remainder of the season, and they lost De'Aaron, shortly thereafter after they acquired him. So, to me, you also have to factor that into this coming season, the fact that not only are you getting both of them back healthy, they're going to spend the offseason working out together, going to go to camp together and get used to each other. So, to me, when you think about sort of the additions, to me, that's a big addition in terms of the fact that they're finally going to get to play together, spend a season together. So, to me, you got to factor that into how much better they're going to be. Having two All-Stars on the team that can just dominate,
Right.
they're going to make everyone else better. In addition to the pickups that they've had either through the draft or the trade or free agent sign.
Absolutely. And one other thing that should be noted about Kelly is that he knows his role. What more can you underscore that and highlight it that for everybody watching right now is that he's a former sixth man of the year. The former sixth man of the year. He won it in the 2017-18 season with the Heat. So in that year, it was a while ago, but he put up 11.5 points per game and 5.7 rebounds per game. So again, he just knows how to fit, how to be effective. And so now that the Spurs have this as their big man depth with Wemby, Cornette, and Kelly, that's deep, Raul. I mean, I should say this for another episode of Lockdown Spurs, but this team has proven to have depth nearly at every position now.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what happened last season, when initially when Charles Bassey went down, and of course they had Wemby and Collins, and then Bassey and then Bassey went down, and then you had the Zach trade, and Wemby unfortunately got injured, and they're in the final month of the season. They were struggling. I mean, they had Bismack Biyombo did a great job, but he was undersized center. He was 6'9". You had Jeremy as the backup. You had sometimes you'd have Castle, guarding either a power forward or a center. So I mean, they struggled last season in the paint. They're down the stretch. So now you have three big men. But the other big thing is with Kelly and with Luke is you give Wemby a chance to come out and you don't lose anything. It seemed like a lot of times when Wemby would leave, guys would, first of all, guys would attack the rim with Wemby because they wanted to test him, but Wemby would always bring it back. But as soon as he went out of the lineup, they went crazy, because they finally, it was almost like a breath of fresh air. They could actually go to the rim and without the fear of Wemby there. So with Luke, with Kelly, that's not going to happen as often. It's going to be very consistent. The defense is going to be, very consistent when Wemby is not in there.
Absolutely, yeah. I think this is a phenomenal A move for the Spurs. Grade A. That's what I mean. For San Antonio, the type of player the Spurs needed. They needed to build around their stars, and they're filling it out with guys that know their role. Cornette, he knows his role. He even joked about it, saying, "Hey, I'm going to be 1/3 of Tim Duncan." That's great, because he knows he's not going to be Tim Duncan. Kelly, we proved that already. Sixth man of the year, former winner, knows his role. He fits in well. You got other pieces around there that are players that are going to know their role moving forward. Champagne's going to know his role. Sohan, I think his. Keldon definitely figured out his role on this team. So it's coming together little by little, and Kelly just really fortifies that big man depth the San Antonio Spurs desperately needed, and they got it. But unfortunately, it looks like Bassey will probably not be back in San Antonio. I think Boston put out a photo of him in the Celtics camp, I guess, ahead of the Summer League. So we know he's likely to land there. Good for him. Boston needs help, the big man spot, so he'll do that. Same thing with Malachi and Wesley. They're going to go to Washington, get some playing time. It just feels like the Spurs are finally trimming the fat, right, and getting the right pieces on the roster. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked all three of those players. I like Blake, Malachi, and Bassie. But with Bassie, unfortunately, he kept getting injured.
Yeah.
I know the Spurs were really high on him, but it's difficult when these injuries come, and and then they have to try and fill his spot. And then with Malachi and Blake, they just it was tough for them to get on the court, especially when they kept adding these talented wings. So guards and small forwards. So I think Blake and Malachi are going to do well in Washington. I think especially Wesley going to do well. Malachi is just sort of to me it's almost like a not to that level, but sort of the Vinny Johnson type of scorer. The guy, I think eventually once he gets minutes, he's going to be a guy that could come off the bench and get you 20 points really quick. Not do it every game, but there's going to be games where sure he's going to get 20, 30 points, and it's going to be that type of instant offense. But it was, to me, it was just going to be hard for them to get any minutes. And like you had mentioned, Spurs had a glut at guard and wings.
Yeah.
So they were able to turn that into a big man, which they needed. And Kelly, this is just part of developing a roster. You get the assets, and then unfortunately either they don't work out, or maybe someone else works out a little bit more, and then you or trade them away. You look at Zach and Trey Jones, and they had to deal as well to get De'Aaron. So unfortunately this is part of it. Spurs fans get attached to the players, understandably, but in order to build the roster, sometimes you have to get rid of some popular players in order to bring somebody else in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Perfect point is Mamu, and they pretty much parted with him. So the Spurs seemingly are doing the right things to build this roster for the new season. It feels like the new season starting tomorrow at this rate. It's still months away, but exciting times in San Antonio. Hey, we're not done with Raul. When we get back, we're going to be talking about Dylan Harper. He is set to make his NBA Summer League debut tomorrow versus Dallas out in Vegas. We're going to talk about the expectations and more right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, but first I want to talk to you about Game Time. Here we decided at the last minute, right, to go to the ball game with friends or family. Maybe it's game day or something you realize you want to be in the stands, right? Well, that's where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, whatever you need to do to make that event more enjoyable. Game Time makes it all happen. Game Time makes buying tickets easy, fast, and simple. Prices on the app actually drop as you get closer to the first pitch. They got incredible last-minute deals, clear sea views, lowest price guarantee. It takes all the worry out of buying tickets. Look, they even got these deals called the zone deals. So what you do is you get like 10% off exclusive zone deals for FIFA Club World Cup matchups. Yeah, another reason why you want to go to Game Time right now. By the way, those seat views, you see it in your app, so you know exactly what your view is going to be before you buy. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create that account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs, joined by Raul Dominguez. He's with the AP Sports. Follow him on X at Dominguez5. And unfortunately, he's not making his Summer League debut tomorrow, but Dylan Harper is. Man, Raul, I remember back in the day, the Summer League was not a thing. Like, that wasn't like a destination thing to do in the offseason. I remember going to the Vegas Summer League during those times, and the NBA was so desperate for any attention they could bring to that they would let you walk on the court and like sit on the bench with the players just to interview them. Now it's a whole other story. Do you remember going to the Summer League before it was a thing to do?
No, I never went to any of the Summer League games, but I remember it was so difficult to get anything, hear anything about it. It wasn't on TV, no radio, minimal media coverage.
Yeah.
Back then it was almost I don't know. It was almost like, just sort of the players that maybe had a chance of making the training camp roster, right? making the team. So
Yeah.
Now you have all the top picks that are playing in that, and second year players, and then some other kind of people that have been around the league maybe 3-4 years are playing now. So it's become a big event now.
It really, really has. And did you hear that tidbit that tickets are selling for like $200+ just to like watch a Cooper Flag game or an Edgecombe game or whatever? I mean, it's become a thing. But hey, speaking of a thing, the Spurs might have a very special player on the roster, and that is Dylan Harper. As of this recording, he is set to make his summer league debut, that is, tomorrow versus Dallas Mavericks. Gee, Raul, I wonder why. Yeah, Cooper Flag, maybe. So that should be a good thing to see. Finally, Spurs can see the number 2 pick overall, put that summer league uniform on, and ball out, hopefully crossing fingers. But Raul, the chance of him playing extended games in the Vegas Summer League are very minimal. I got him maybe at a game and a half, 2 at most. I don't see the Spurs playing him a lot. But nevertheless, what do you expect to see? What do you want to see out of Harper when he makes his summer league debut?
Just want to see him go out there and just be comfortable. You can't really judge, too much out of the summer league. You remember when Wemby played? Speaking of which, when kind of like you're talking about Harper, it was like I can't remember what game it was, but I remember Wemby made his debut. I don't know if maybe it was against Chet or someone. Or maybe it was Miller from Charlotte, but it was like he had been sitting out for a while, or they weren't quite ready to have him out there because of at that time everything that he had been doing, over the summer. But then all of a sudden, he popped up in the big game that NBA TV was, highlighting. So, he and Wemby didn't do that well. I remember people talking about, he's a bust, and
I remember that, yeah.
Thinking like, it's summer league, give the guy a break, So with Harper, sort of the same thing, just getting comfortable. He's gonna be back on the court, just be comfortable out there. I know he's gonna be aggressive. I know he's gonna be out there having fun. I think with Dylan, it's just more so than points or assists. I just want to see him having fun and being aggressive, sort of like what Derek White did. I think this is his second summer out there. Second summer league, Derek's blossomed where you could see him.
Oh, yeah.
He scored a lot of points, obviously, but the big thing with Derek was just the confidence that he had, the immersion that he had. I'd like to see Dylan do the same thing, regardless of whether or not he can finish, the drive or whatever, but just that the intent to sort of impose his will, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, exactly. And, obviously the health, stay healthy. And I think that's why the Spurs are going to really monitor his games / minutes out in Vegas starting tomorrow. But no, I'm excited. You get the number 1 pick, Flag, number 2 pick, Harper. Should be exciting times, again, if they get extended run. But you're talking about Summer League. Yeah, no matter, even if he falls flat in his face tomorrow and just has a poor performance, do not read into it. Why? Because wasn't there a time, where Greg Ostertag busted up Tim Duncan in Summer League? Remember that?
Yeah, I think he dunked on him, and people were, he's gonna.
Yeah,
I think people were wondering, because at that time, it was during the, the end of the defensive era was, that was right at the tail end of the defensive era. The Detroit Bad Boys and that type of defense, and I think some people were wondering if Tim was against. Some people wonder if Tim was gonna be able to hold up in that, that sort of the. Bit more physical play, and Ostertag, I believe, dunked on him, and people lost their mind, and I think it turned out pretty well for Timmy.
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, so that's why you don't want to put too much stock in it if Harper does not have a good outing or if Flag outshines him. But if he does play extended minutes and gets to show his skill set, I want to see how positionless is he. I would hope to see the Spurs play him at the 1, at the 2, at the 3, and the 4. I really want to see him play those positions to get an understanding of how he'll fit in. Because remember, they still have a logjam at guard, despite Wesley and Malachi gone. So if he can show that, he goes, I can play off the ball, or I can lead as a point, or let me create my own shot as a swingman. I think that'll be good to see Harper and show the team how he can fit in despite Fox and Castle on the roster. Other thing, too, is I'm curious to see his shot. That's kind of the knock on him right now is, yeah, he's a slasher. Yep, he can score, but can he hit the 3-shot? Can he hit a mid-range? So those are things I'm focusing on tomorrow. How positionless is he, and can he knock down that shot? Are you worried about the shot, though, heading into his rookie season?
No, I'm not. I think he's just a really smart player. He's very savvy. I think having not just his father, Ron, who's with the Bulls and the Lakers. His mom, played college basketball.
Right.
She was his coach, and he talks about how his mom didn't let him work on a jump shot. I think for his first, I think it was his first year or two playing basketball, where all she wanted him to do was to drive. Because she wanted him to sort of get used to that then. And she knows, you can build a jumper, you can build a jump shot. That aggression, that ability to finish at the hole, that's something that, that you really have to work on. And she knew that he could, start building a great jump shot. And so I know he's done that. And I think, if his jump shot isn't quite there at the start of his career, I know he's going to work really hard to build that. So I'm not worried about him with his jump shot early. I think he's going to be a better shooter than most people think. But however, good or bad he is this season, he's going to be much better second year. He's going to keep growing and growing and growing because this kid young man puts a lot of work in.
Yeah, he really does. And, exciting time for the Spurs. You see the number 2 pick out there. I know we're talking about Harper, but, Carter Bryant is likely to play, see him get better. I think he's off to kind of a rocky start. But again, it is just summer to give the kid some time. But as far as Harper's concerned, yeah, one thing we heard before they left to the summer leagues, Cali and now Vegas, was during the summer league practice in San Antonio at the Rock. You heard Carter Bryant say, "Oh, he's vocal, like Harper is loud, not in a boisterous way, but as far as leadership, setting the tone, the example." That's the other thing I want to see. How he's gonna do that vocal leadership, because Carter Bryant brought it up. Now let's see it in action. So I'd love to see that come out, even if he plays a game or two. Raul, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he's been a leader and on pretty much every level that he's been on, right. And then again, I keep talking about his mother. I really love his mom. So I love her intensity. The fact that she sort of built him up to be a great player. And right. I know that's something she stressed, for him to be a leader on the court, to be a coach on the court. So I think you're definitely going to see that. And that's another aspect of him I think that's going to be that's really going to play well in the NBA is sort of being that leader, that coach on the court. And he's going to yell and sort of be,
right.
Sort of command the other players, make sure that everything's going right. Whereas Keldon yells, out of excitement. I think Dylan's going to not so much yell, but sort of direct people where to go and what to do. And that I think that's going to be good for Wemby. I think it's going to be good for the Spurs in general.
Yeah, absolutely. So exciting times for tomorrow for Spurs fans tuning into the Summer League. It's going to be like basketball all day. Today, it's like there's basketball from beginning to end. Tomorrow, it's like it starts at Central Time. That is 10 in the morning to like 10 at night. So if you're missing some NBA action, you're going to get plenty of that for the next few days. He is Raul Dominguez. Make sure to follow him on X at Dominguez5. Do that right now. And leave him a comment, your thoughts on what he has to say about the Silver and Black on this episode of Locked On Spurs. We're not done. When we get back, we're going to talk about one. We'll pick out one Locked On Spurs fan comment. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs, joined by Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. He is on X at Dominguez5. I'm going to follow him right now. So it's time to pick out one Locked On Spurs fan comment, and we got a good one for you. Why? Because, Mr. Rudy Campos. So Campos sweep the league. He was a guest this past week, and the topic was Wemby and how much he does well, and we all heard the same thing over and over again. Good defensively, good offensively. But Capo said, "Hey, that's good and all, but he's not generational." Capo does not believe Wemby is generational as of now. Now, why? So Raul, he says it's because he's seen 7-footers on up block crazy shots. He's pointed to like guys like Mark Eaton, because I've seen that. He goes, I've seen centers as Wemby that are tall as Wemby, if not shorter, at least around there, hit threes. And he pointed to Dirk. He pointed to KD. He pointed to other guy. He goes, Wemby hasn't shown him anything that makes him generational. So with that being said, we have a comment from okay, I think this is a prank topic or like name, so I'm going to skip it. I'm going to say Fluff23. I'm not going to add the middle word in there. But Fluff23 says, when did Rudy become a Wemby hater? He said he is not generational. Give me a break. This guy is constantly negative. Wemby is just now at the age Duncan was when Duncan entered the league. He already has an all-star game under his belt, the best defender of the league. He is the definition of a generational player. Rudy is an idiot. So, with that being said, Raul, where do you stand? Do you think Wemby is generational?
No disrespect to Rudy. Rudy's a great guy. I love Rudy. But yeah, I think it's difficult to say, or I don't know if it's right to say that he's not a generational talent. Maybe he's not quite one yet, but he will be. I understand what Rudy's talking about as far as you've seen 7-footers, block shots and 7-footers, make 3-point shots, but not in the way that Wemby does it. I mean, I've rarely seen a 7-footer block 3-point shots, and not just block them like he's guarding them. Like he runs to the corner and he's jumping up. I mean, there's iconic photos of him where he's blocking.
Oh yeah.
Stretched out, he's blocking those shots as far as like closing out on the shooter and blocking them after they've released the shot. And that, to me, that's just I can't remember a 7-footer or doing that before. Having the speed to close out that quickly, the leaping ability, the length to block those shots, and then also inside where he's able to.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me a bit of Hakeem Olajuwon, where guys would sort of try and fake Hakeem out, and maybe they'd get him to bite on a fake, but he was quick enough to recover and block the shot even after the fake. And Wemby does that a lot, where guys will do that. And then as far as him making the 3-pointers, I mean, yeah, you have guys like Kristaps and guys like that. They can make threes, but I've never seen anybody do a crossover or do a step back. He dribbles like a guard. And then the other thing is, when one of the best dunks I've ever seen is, when he had the breakaway and Derek White, who's an absolutely tremendous defender, was trying to get the ball away from him. He did a wraparound behind his back and dunked it. It was like Manu-esque. Nobody
that, yeah.
And to me, that's just, you see maybe guys do a little bit of that, but his athleticism, it's, again, he's like a guard. He's like, he's like a Jamal Crawford, just stretched out, it's just, he's like a Manu stretched out. I mean, so to me, I think he's going to be generational in terms of, you've already seen this sort of developing where these big men are having, the athleticism of guards. I think with Wemby, you're going to see, more 7-footers that they can, sort of do the Steph thing, or the crossovers, the dribbles, behind the back, have that type of touch, have that type of feel. You look at, Dirk, the way Dirk would shoot, a lot of, after Dirk came around, a lot of guys, big men started doing, that little, step back off of 1 foot.
KD did it. Yeah, KD started doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think when Wemby's, I think you can see more big men coming with that same type of athleticism, that same type of focus on being a almost a guard out there. So I definitely think Wemby is going to be a generational talent. If he isn't one already.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I agree. I see where Rudy is going at. Maybe he's not generational yet, but the seeding is going to be generational, and we may see that generational label kind of pop out next season. The blood clot issues are done with. He's finally taking time out of his world tour. He's back in San Antonio, ready getting ready for the new season. He's added some size to his frame, not a lot, just enough. And he has the right pieces around him as far as player and roster positions and all that stuff. So that's going to lend to his ability. So you can definitely see some monster games more often than not from Wemby next season. And I think at that point, he'll reach the level of generational. But even then, you can hear it already coming to Raul. It'll be like, all right, Wemby can do all of that, right? All that. But to be generational, you got to win a title. You're going to hear that. That'll be the next excuse why he's not generational. Because generational talent brings titles to a team. Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant, Shaq, Dirk. Wemby hasn't done it. So that'll be the next hurdle for him. But nevertheless, though, he's on that trajectory to being generational. I think it's going to be next season. All right. Thank you for that comment, Fluff. We appreciate it. Once again, he is Raul Dominguez. Make sure to follow my next at Dominguez Cinco. What's going on in your neck of the woods, Raul? What do you have for fans or just sports fans in general?
Yeah, just sort of, you're like you said earlier, it feels like the NBA season's, just right around the corner, but it's
not,
it's like a few months away. It's October.
Yeah.
So, just kind of waiting on that. Like I said, I think it's going to be a great season for Spurs fans. Got UTSA football coming up as well. So,
yep.
Just kind of just waiting on those things right now. And I think the Spurs off season is done, other than, officially signing De'Aaron to a extension. But I get the sense that it's pretty much done. They're going to add, a player or two, maybe one of the two-way guys, maybe a Riley or a Harrison, get transferred to a contract.
Or that Garcia guy in the summer league, man. It's balling out. Yeah.
So, but seems like for the most part, I think the Spurs are done and ready to go into this next season.
I'm with you, man. I can't wait for next season. Again, if it's months and months away, but nevertheless, it just feels good knowing that the Spurs are on the right path and should make for an exciting 2025-26 Spurs season. So looking forward to that. Raul, we thank you as always for taking time out of your schedule to join us here on Locked On Spurs. Once again, make sure to follow him on X at Dominguez Cinco. You want to do that right now. Everybody else, we thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Kens 5 Plus app, YouTube. We'll be back on Monday. Summer Spurs Vegas wing now. That section is starting, so we'll probably talk about that and so much more right here on Locked On Spurs. So for Raul Dominguez, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.